Hello, people. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and it's been a while. And welcome to my review of the one and only Marvel's cinematic masterpiece, The Avengers. Yes, I've been wanting to talk about this movie all week. I gave my, a lot of reasons why I love this movie, and I still do. And I'm going to get to the pros and cons of the film. Well, there's not really that many cons, just some nitpicks, that a lot of people have noticed and that I've noticed too. I changed my angle so that the poster can come out in the background while I do this review. I saw this movie in the theater twice in the same evening on I think it was May 3rd or May 4th of 2012. Best experience I ever had in the movie theater. Just the atmosphere in the air, my anticipation, my heart was racing and vibrating. It never does that when I see certain movies. The crowd was so into this movie. It was like a freaking it was just a barrage of just praise and clapping and cheering and just marking out. People just loved this movie, and I did too. I mean, to some people, this is one of the nitpicks I get from certain critics and people on IMDb or YouTube. They said the first hour of this movie is boring. Really, it's an origin story. Remember that. This is how the Avengers came to be. So they have to take their time with character development and setting up things up, from previous films. Remember, they're putting at least 4 or 5 films that led up to this in one movie. So it did need to have a lot of story. And the story works. The way the movie began kicked ass. I love how it opens. You have the logo of Paramount. Then you have the Tesseract, and then they show the Chitauri with the masks and putting them on. The visual effects in this movie blew my freaking mind. I cannot believe that that Marvel did such a great job with the visual effects. It did a mix of practical and CGI, so it wasn't just all CG. The money's on the screen every single second of the movie, no matter if it's just people talking or just the costumes and the visual effects and the lighting and the sound. Just everything in this movie works technical wise, definitely. But the way the film opens up, it didn't bore me. Hey, more things happen in this movie than Man of Steel a year later, but I'll get to that some other time. But the film starts with, you see the Tesseract, and they talk about, the Chitauri. They want to get their hands on it so that they can unleash, they can unleash their aliens on the Earth and just conquer the world. Basic stuff. You didn't need anything deep like Nolan. This is not the kind of movie that it is. It's light, hilarious, and one of the best things I've seen on screen, especially with this ensemble. You see Nick Fury, you see Maria Hill, and you see the base where Shield is at, and then Loki shows up out of nowhere. Tom Hiddleston, the way they made him as Loki in this movie, Whedon just knocked it out of the park. They made him menacing. They made him memorable. He was badass. He kills people. They're like, oh, it's boring. Loki, as soon as he shows up, he has a smile on his face, and he's just wrecking havoc, and it's great to watch. And he has such great dialogue. Whedon just writes his Shakespearean dialogue to a T. Everything that he does in the movie is just, it's magic. I just love everything that he says in the movie. It's just, and if you haven't seen this movie, remember there's going to be major spoilers. If you have not seen this movie, what are you waiting for? Go watch it online or get a Blu-ray or DVD copy of this. It's worth it. Anyway, he controls Professor Selvig. He controls Hawkeye. Hawkeye, yeah, spends most of this movie as a bad guy, but it didn't bother me because Jeremy Renner's a good actor. I like seeing him on screen, and he's really freaking convincing as a bad guy. Anyway, Loki wreaks havoc. He escapes with the Tesseract. They chase him down. Nick Fury's shooting at him. Nick Fury actually has things to do in this film. He says, we're at war. Freaking awesome. Then you see that awesome logo, the Avengers, and I was just like, oh my god, this movie is going to blow my wad. And it did. And the film didn't blow its wad early. It was all set up. Build up, build up, build up, but it works, and it is such a freaking spectacular finale that I was like, wow, I was 12 years old again in the theater. Anyway, next scene, you reintroduce Black Widow tied up on a chair. They're speaking Russian. Yeah, that's one of my nitpicks. Like, I didn't need to read a minute of Russian. I hear it all the time here in New York City with these freaking people. They speak it. I don't know what the hell they're saying. In this, they have to put subtitles. I'm not really the biggest fan of reading subtitles because I don't watch foreign films except for Asian cinema. But anyway, that scene is short. Once the phone rings, the scene gets really good. Natasha's like, I'm working here, and I'm like, it was just great. And the look she gives the Russian guy, she's like, oh, these guys are telling me everything, and she's like, I love Scarlett Johansson. This is the role that just I absolutely adore her in. She kicks their ass by herself. Strong woman, not a weak woman at all. And I spit on the haters that say that in the second movie they're sexist because they made her weak. No, Scarlett was pregnant at the time, but I'll get to that when I review the second movie because I don't have it yet. It's gonna be on Blu-ray soon. But anyway, back to the first movie. She kicks her ass. She's like, "Oh, you gotta get Bruce Banner," and she says something in Russian. I don't know what they said because I'm not Russian. Then we go to India. So they went to India. At least the scenes in the other countries don't take half the screen time. You see Bruce Banner. This Indian girl tells her to help me, please. And of course, it's a setup so that Black Widow can talk to him. They talk for a bit. The talking to me was not boring. It's interaction between the characters, and I love these characters. So seeing them talk to each other was just, I was like, wow, this is just like the comics. Just reading this awesome dialogue, and just getting into the deeper, the psyches of these wonderful Marvel characters. Then later on, you see whatchamacallit. I think you see Iron Man. Yeah, he's fixing things. He fixes things. Tony Stark is a builder. He's not just a guy that goes in a suit and just blasts people to bits. He also is an inventor and he fixes things. It was fine. It didn't bother me. I know it bothered a lot of people. Oh, Iron Man, all he does is fix things. He fixes the helicarrier and he fixes, all these power supplies. But Robert Downey Jr. he's the funniest thing in this movie. I love him in this movie. Him and Gwyneth Paltrow have amazing chemistry. He's just like, oh, I'll give you 12% of the building. And, he's hilarious. And when they meet Phil Coulson again, they get reunited. It's like, oh, his first name is Agent. His dialogue was just amazing. I loved Robert Downey Jr. People that are talking about his drug past, the guy got over it. 10 years later, and he's in the biggest movie of all time, like the third highest grossing movie ever made, and the fourth one, and the second Avengers is not too far behind. So, anyway, later on, you skip past that, you get to, Nick Fury talking to the the council. It was kind of like in Star Wars. They're holographic. The holograms look great. You got Jenny Agutter is there, and I wasn't really the biggest fan of her in American Werewolf in London, but here she's fine. She's a supporting character, and she's one of the council members. They said, oh, that we have to get the Tesseract back, and so we need soldiers. They show Cap. He's punching the bag, having flashbacks from First Avenger. It's a great introduction. Chris Evans, I love him in this movie. He is amazing. He is the captain in this movie. And it is a nod to the movie Soldier with Kurt Russell. And I like that movie. I think that movie was a good nod, Joss Whedon, really good nod. He punches the bag, he's remembering all these things, and then bam, he punches the bag out. And it's freaking awesome. These people I'm not a simpleton that needs action every 5 minutes. I can wait for things, because when you wait for it and the payoff is glorious, it makes the experience a whole lot better. Sometimes a slow burn isn't the worst thing. I mean, Aliens has it, and it's a great movie too. So anyway, Cap punches the bag, picks up another bag, starts punching it. Nick Fury talks to him. I don't want to spoil everything because, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm like, what are you waiting for? Go see it, because this movie is epic. I love this movie. There's nothing. I don't have any major problems with it. Not even the pacing. Some people said the pacing in the first hour is boring. I think it's slow build up that works, especially in the second half. It's not like Transformers where it takes an hour and 30 minutes for something to happen. No, here you're building the team up. Cap is like, oh, we're trying to save the world or whatever. He's like, oh, we need you, Cap. He gives him his papers, and they head to the helicarrier. Helicarrier looks awesome. I almost cried watching it on the big screen. It was amazing. Just beautiful visual effects. Just Bruce Banner meets Cap, and they shake hands, and like, oh, and people said that Mark Ruffalo was a little off. I thought it was fine. He played a more awkward, keeps to himself kind of a scientist, which I liked. It reminded me of Bill Bixby in the original Incredible Hulk series and the TV movies. He was fine. He wasn't emotionless like Eric Bana. And although Edward Norton was a better Bruce Banner, I still think Mark Ruffalo did fine. I don't know why people bitch about him. I think he's fine, and he looks just like the Hulk, especially when he's green later in the film. Anyway, they get to the base, Shield. Of course Loki is causing havoc in Germany. Him and Hawkeye are just, decimating people. He goes to the museum, knocks a guy the hell out, and sticks a thing in his face. The film gets pretty brutal. It's a very strong PG-13. So if you have young children that can't handle violence, you shouldn't show this movie to them until, they're able to handle violence in a film, especially a PG-13 movie. It's not pussified. Believe me, Whedon took a lot of risk with this film. This was originally going to be R, but they toned down a lot of the violence to give it a PG-13. Anyway, after all that, Loki shows his true self with the freaking awesome horns and that green outfit and the scepter. It's amazing. He shoots a freaking I think it's a bus. Yeah, Loki is a badass in this movie. He's like, kneel before me. Tom Hiddleston, his acting is just great in the movie. And he's like, I said, kneel. I was like, my jaw dropped to the ground. I was like, I didn't say a word. It was just like when the Joker, was laughing in front of the camera, in the Dark Knight. It was that scary, and I prefer this over the Dark Knight. It's not 2.5 hours. It goes at a faster pace, and I love the light tone. It doesn't have to be super, super serious. It knows when to be light and when to be serious, and when to cut the talking and just get right to the action. The scene that Loki's giving the speech, amazing. It's like, you were made to be ruled, and then this old guy's like, no, not to men like you, and he's like, no, there are no men like me. And then he's about to blast him. Then out of nowhere, Cap gears up, protects the old guy with his shield. People reacted in the theater. They were like, "Oh my God, Cap!" And it was just amazing. I was like, "Wow, this is going to be epic." And it's like, the last time I was in Germany, I fought someone less like he had a problem, and then Loki's like the soldier, and they have a fight. It's awesome. It's short, but it's sweet, and I can see what's going on. Loki and Cap have a tussle. Loki puts Cap down. He's like, kneel, and Cap's like, nope, not today. Drop kicks him. Black Widow shows up with the jet, and she says, like, Loki, put your weapons down. And then of course Iron Man shows up. That scene just freaking made me cream my pants. You have Shoot to Thrill playing in the background. Iron Man blasts Loki with his freaking optic blast. Not optic blast. What am I saying? His what was his unibeam or repulsor blast? Optic blast is Cyclops. I'm so sorry. Anyway, he blasts him. Shoot to Thrill plays. He goes like this, and he's like, "Move it, reindeer game. Your move, reindeer games." And then Loki gives up. I see Cap, and I get to see Cap and Iron Man in the same frame. That was freaking amazing. For someone who's watched these characters when I was a kid, and then to finally see them on the big screen, I lit up like a candle. I was like, oh my God. It's Iron Man and Captain America in the same frame, looking at each other. And it's just, I was like, wow. If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will, because that just, my mind was blown, and that was just the first 45 minutes of the movie. Then they it's like Mr. Stark, Captain, and then they catch Loki, and then they're like, oh, this was too easy. How come he gave up so easily? And then of course you hear thunder. Thor shows up 40 minutes into the film. Didn't bother me. I was waiting for him. He shows up. He's real pissed. He knocks Iron Man out of the way and grabs Loki and just flies off. That's freaking awesome. I love that. See, it's the little things in this movie that just bring me so much joy. I love talking about this movie. This is a masterpiece for me for cinematic greatness of this decade, especially with, we're not in the golden age of cinema, but when you get stuff like this, I light up like a candle. Anyway, he flies off. Iron Man's like, oh, if he lets Loki free, the Tesseract is lost, and he's like, I have a plan. Attack. That's great. And then Iron Man just jumps out the freaking window, out of the plane. And then Black Widow talks to Cap, and he's like, oh, there's only one guy I know, and I don't think he dresses like that. He jumps out. And he goes after Iron Man and Thor. Thor and Loki have a tussle, and he's really pissed. He's like, I'm not in a gaming mood. Love Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth's voice is so manly and so demanding. I just love it. It's just, I love hearing that on the big screen. It's a marvel. He was born to play Thor. Anyway, they have this Shakespearean dialogue, oh, your father, come back with me, brother. It's like, get off this pointless dream. And, they have a tussle. And then out of nowhere, it's crazy. Thor is like, brother. And then Iron Man just comes out of nowhere. That was hilarious in the theater. I did not expect it. Whedon knows how to surprise his audience. You got to give him that. Love or hate the film, you got to give him that. He knows how to make a scene unpredictable. And when Thor gets knocked out into the tree, and then Iron Man, talks to him. He's like, "Don't touch me again." This movie's hilarious. Then Iron Man's, reveals it. He takes his mask off, and then he's like, "Don't touch my stuff." And then Thor's like, "You have no idea what you're dealing with." And Iron Man looks around, and he's like, "Shakespeare in the Park." I love that. That's just, I went to Shakespeare in the Park that year, so it was a nice little nod. And it's like, does mother know you weareth her drapes? And he's like, if he tells Thor, stay out of the way, and then of course they have this epic fight that's just, you got to see it to believe it. They knock each other out. Thor freaking gets hit into a tree. Iron Man jumps and punches him. Thor is waving his hammer and just goes at it. It's an epic fight. If this is how Civil War is going to be freaking awesome. Of course, Cap breaks up the fight, says, "Hey, that's enough." And, it's like, and Thor's like, "I come here to put an end to Loki's, reign." And then Cap's like, "Prove it. Put the hammer down." And Iron Man's like, No. He likes that. Boom. And he gets knocked out of the way. And Thor's like, "Oh, you want me to put the hammer down?" Epic scene. Cap puts his shield up. Thor is flying in slow motion. And wham! And he just destroys the whole freaking park in a blaze of glory. It's awesome. There's not much left of the trees. You see the three of them in the same frame. It's just great. And a lot of people said that they were upset with the Avengers, bickering with each other. I thought it was great because these actors have amazing chemistry on screen, and just seeing this is a delight. Never in this movie was I like, you know what? I'm getting tired of these people bickering. No, I loved every second of it. After that tussle, they took Loki in prison. He smiles because he sees Bruce Banner, and he knows his plan when he's in the helicarrier. You have a scene with him and Black Widow. I'm not doing things in order, so just, bear with me. I'm doing this all from memory because, I love seeing the film, and I don't know every sequence in my head. But I know all the sequences I remember. He talks to Black Widow, and he's like, "I'm going to let Clint Barton, I'm going to let Hawkeye kill you. I'm going to love watching it." And she's like getting scared. She's like, Scarlett Johansson can emote, man. That face of hers is just majestic. And when she looks scared, you believe it. And, Loki is just so freaking intimidating that, it's like she gets chills being next to him. And then she turns around and is like, "You're a monster." And there was also a scene prior to that he talks to Samuel Jackson's Nick Fury. And he's like, "If you even touch that glass, Ant, boot." Awesome. And that's a nice nod because Ant-Man's coming out in a month. Anyway, she's like, "Oh, so the Hulk is your plan." And she tells Fury, "Yeah, the Hulk is Loki's plan. He wants to let the Hulk loose so that, he can destroy the helicarrier." Of course, Hulk, it takes about an hour for him to come into the movie, but it is so worth it compared to Ang Lee's film. Ang Lee's film took forever for the Hulk to appear. In this movie, in the first hour he appears, and then when he appears, it's great. Hawkeye, he gears up, he freaking shoots his arrow, he lets it out, he shoots it and hits the helicarrier, it explodes. All the Avengers, well, they're bickering with each other beforehand in the room, and because the Tesseract is controlling their anger and is intensifying the room. They're like, "Oh, you started it. I want to bring peace to your planet," and blah blah blah. And then it explodes. They all get separated. Hulk starts to get angry, and he's like, "Rah!" And then his shirt rips. open, and then he looks at Black Widow, and he looks, you feel sorry for Bruce Banner because he didn't want this, and to see him suffer in this movie, it brings more depth to the character, and I care more about these characters when they suffer, or when they get hurt, or when they're bickering. I care about these people. You don't like forget about them the next day. These are people you get attached to, especially if you've read the comics, or you've seen the cartoons, or you've watched the animated movies, or you love the characters, mythos. It's great to see. Just this cast really brought their A game. Anyway, no pun intended. Anyway, Hulk shows up. He rips through the freaking room. He's chasing Black Widow, and he's like, woof. The effects look fantastic. Yeah, he looks like a green gorilla, but he smashes shit like he's supposed to. In your face, Ang Lee. Anyway, he's destroying everything. He's chasing after Black Widow. He barely gets to her. And then he has this awesome fight with Thor, and he tries to pick the hammer up, and he can't because he's not worthy. And Thor's trying to control him and, hold him back. And it's an epic fight. I mean, the fights don't have to be 10 minutes long to get my adrenaline pumping. Hulk, of course, escapes. They start shooting him from a fighter jet that's outside. He jumps out the freaking window and gets the fighter jet, destroys it, and smashes it, and smashes it, and smashes it, and just throws the guy out. That was freaking awesome. He didn't die, but Hulk is angry in this movie, and he smashes everything in his way. Iron Man is fixing the helicarrier, the pieces that are broken. Cap is fighting a couple of soldiers that got onto the helicarrier. He shoots them with a gun. Good enough for me. I didn't need, choo, 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 choo. I didn't need aliens. I needed this movie to be its own thing. Just amazing stuff. Black Widow has an awesome fight with Hawkeye. There's a lot of fighting in this movie. The first hour being boring is my ass. I think the first hour, what's there is sufficient for me. And the fight scenes are hand-to-hand. There's no shaky cam. I can see what's going on, and I care about these characters, so let's see what happens. And then, of course, Black Widow fighting Hawkeye. She knocks him into a freaking pipe or something, and then he's starting to get his senses back, and he's like, Natasha? And then she punches him out. She's a tough chick, and I love it. And the fact that she doesn't get her own movie is just sad, because, Kevin Feige's an idiot. He's like, oh, a woman leading a Marvel movie can't make money. Hey, they're going to do Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is a female. Miss Marvel. I know who she is, and I hope they pick the right actress for, Phase 3. Anyway, back to Avengers. They fix the helicarrier. Thor chases after Loki. Of course, he tricks him, and then he gets trapped in the glass prison that he was in. Coulson shows up with his big freaking gun. It looks like the gun from Doom. He's like, I don't know what it does. And it lights up, and he's about to shoot him, and then, of course, Loki stabs him. That's the scene that was going to get an R rating, because he stabs him right through the heart, and then Thor's like, no! Brilliant acting. You care about Chris Hemsworth's performance. Coulson gets stabbed. Thor starts smashing the freaking, glass with the hammer. Of course, he gets sucked down into a field of grass. Hulk is, somewhere else. The Avengers, when they're disbanded, you still care about them, especially at the end. It's just epic, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. After that debacle, you have Hulk appears naked. You got an appearance from Harry Dean Stanton, classic actor from Alien. It was nice to see him there because, he says, are you an alien? And I was like, oh, a reference to Alien. That's awesome. It did it better than Prometheus that same year. And he's like, oh, well, son, you have a condition. That was really funny. It was good to see Harry Dean Stanton in this movie. I think that's his name, yeah. Really, really good actor. Coulson supposedly dies. Of course, it's K-Fed because you see him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I've only seen like 2 episodes of that because it's not really as good as this. This just blew my wad. This is what it's all about, man. That's what I got my YouTube name for. This. Anyway, you get back to the Avengers, they're like regrouping. They're like, Coulson's dead, he's down. Maria Hill is injured. She has a moment where she shoots one of those guys, the soldiers that got on board of the helicarrier. He has these bloody Captain America cards. He's like, oh, we needed. Oh, there was an idea to get these amazing people to make this team, the Avengers Initiative, and then Robert Downey Jr. and Cap, they have bickering. They're like, "Oh, we're not soldiers." Loki. He's been planning this all along. He wants to have his name up in lights. He wants to be the grand daddy of the whole world. And then of course Robert Downey Jr. figures it out. They're trying to set up the Tesseract to unleash the Chitauri inside of the tower near the Stark Tower. This is where the movie gets amazing. You thought the first hour was boring, right? But once you get to the hour and 30-minute mark, the movie becomes a freaking classic. You see Iron Man getting to Professor Selvig. He's like, "Shut it off, Professor Selvig." And it's like, "No, you can't. The Chitauri are on their way." And then he has a talk with Loki. They talk in the Stark Tower. He's like, "Oh, no, actually, I'm here to threaten you." I love Robert Downey Jr. in this movie. I can't say anything bad about his performance. He's funny all the way through from the beginning to end. If there's some scenes I forgot, I'll mention it next time. Of course, I'm going to review Avengers 2 really soon after I review the other films. Anyway, he threatens Loki, and he's like, I'm going to pour you a drink. You want one? It's like, "Okay, I'm having one." And he's like, and Loki's like, "What do I have to fear?" And then Tony Stark is like, "The Avengers." And he looks at him. This is what we call ourselves, kind of a team, Earth's mightiest heroes. Great job referencing the cartoon, Joss Whedon. I love you for that. And he's like, let me do a roll call here. There's your brother, the demigod, a legend, who actually, an American legend who actually lives up to the legend, 2 hired assassins, and a guy with huge anger management issues, and you managed to piss off every single one of them. And Loki's like, "Yep, that was the idea." And Tony Stark is like, "That idea, when they come, and they'll come for you." And he's like, "I have an army." And he's like, "We have a Hulk." And he's like, No, you're missing the point here. There is no version of this where you come out on top. Maybe the army comes, and maybe it's too much for us, but it's all on you. We can't protect the Earth. We can be damn well sure we're avenged. That is a great line. Nobody else in the history of Marvel, this Marvel Cinematic Universe, can ever top that speech given by Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark and Iron Man. He is Iron Man, and nobody can ever replace him. I'm sorry. That's why they kept him for Avengers 2. Anyway, after that speech, Loki tries to control Iron Man. He tries to stab him in the chest. Doesn't work. He's like, "Oh, yeah, performance issues, yeah." And then he grabs him and throws him out of the freaking window. Of course, his suit comes out, and it connects to his body, and it's a freaking awesome suit. I love that suit with the little circle. It reminds me of the first Iron Man movie. And it's like, there's also someone else you pissed off, and his name is Phil. And of course he didn't die, but it didn't bother me, because when I saw Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm like, okay, it's not a prequel, so that works. Anyway, then you get to the final act of the film. Oh my God. This was the most amazing 30 minutes of my entire life in the movie theater. The Avengers get together. Cap's like, "Who could pilot the plane or the jet?" And Hawkeye's like, "I can fly." And then it's like, "Suit up." They get all dressed up. They head to New York. They, get to the Chitauri are unleashed onto the freaking world, and the effects look great. The Chitauri are running havoc around New York City. Loki is destroying Manhattan, blowing things up. See, the collateral damage in these movies makes sense, and it doesn't feel like 9/11. It's a space battle. It's an epic, like Star Wars-like extravaganza that I just loved. Anyway, when the Avengers show up in this, you have Cap and Hawkeye, and you have Cap, Hawkeye, and Black Widow fighting the Chitauri hand to hand. Of course, Cap, tells the cops, get the people off the streets and take them to the subways and get them out of here. And the cop is like, why should I listen to you? And then Cap is knocking the freaking Chitauri out with his shield, knocking them out, taking their weapons, going like that, standing tall. And then the cop's like, yeah, I need civilians off of the streets and get them to the train station and get them to the subways and get them out of here. And it was a great scene. I love that. It was so funny, and just amazing scene when they all get together in the circle. Well, I'm getting to that. Iron Man's flying, and then you see these giant freaking robotic, like snake-like creatures that come from the sky. They're huge, and they're right. They look like Transformers, but done so much better. And he's like, seeing, I'm seeing, I'm still working on believing, and this, great dialogue. And it's like, where's Banner? Has he shown up yet? And like, no, not yet. Thor shows up, and he starts blasting the freaking Chitauri, flies from the sky. And first, before that, he fights his brother Loki, and he's like, look at this. Is this what you want? Is this you want to rule by watching the world crumble? And they have an awesome fight. Thor like body slams him and gives him a backbreaker. They fight hand to hand. It's great. Of course, when they assemble at the end, it's just great. He's like, I'm bringing the party to you, and the freaking creature just comes out through the building, and it looks awesome. When I saw that in the trailer, I was like, wow, this movie is going to blow my mind. They all get in the street, and I was like, how do we do this as a team? And then, of course, miraculously, of course, it's a plot device, but Bruce Banner shows up in a little scooter, and, he's like, Dr. Banner, don't you have to be angry? And he says, that's my trick, Cap. I'm always angry. I love that. And then he turns into the Hulk, and then he punches the freaking Chitauri ship right in the face, and it flips over, and bam, it hits the floor. And then the Chitauri get really pissed off. They take their masks off. Definitely a nod to Predator. They show their ugly face. You have this epic circle where the Hulk is just roaring. And I jumped out of the seat, and I went, yes, 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 yes. And I was just, I lost it. When I saw that circle, I was in geek heaven, and it was amazing to see that. It's just a circle. It's just a camera going in a circle showing all 6 of the Avengers all in the same scene, and they're ready to kick Chitauri ass, and it was amazing. And then Cap gives the orders, he says, Hawkeye, go to the building. Then, of course, Iron Man grabs him and flies him, and he's like, let's go, Legolas. That's a nod to Lord of the Rings. Love it. The pop culture references, they made me smile, and I loved it. And it's like, Black Widow, you stay with me, and we could shoot. We'll stay here, and we'll secure the perimeter. And Thor, you fry the bastards if they get in your way. And then he says, Hulk, smash. I loved it. I lost my crap. I was freaking amazed. Hulk just punches over there and punches a Chitauri there and punches and punches and punches and punches. I loved it. It was freaking amazing. I was like, this is what I wanted to see the Hulk do since the Incredible Hulk movie in 2008. And it was great. He only hulks out twice in the movie, but you remember what he does. And just the grand scale, all the battles, is just freaking amazing. And then, the scene where Iron Man's flying, and he goes right through the Chitauri thing, and he says, you ever heard the story of Noah? And Jarvis is like, no, I don't consider him a role model. He flies right through the ship and explodes the freaking Chitauri creature, and it blows up. It's just amazing. I loved every second of this. This is what I wanted on summer blockbuster. Iron Man's just flying, shooting people. Then Thor, then Cap, is standing there giving drop kicks and using a shield, and then Iron Man shoots it, and then it blasts him. That was freaking amazing. This is what it's all about. Hawkeye's freaking just shooting arrows, and he's not even looking. He's like, they can't shoot worth a damn, and he shoots it and doesn't even look, and he hits a Chitauri. It's amazing. I love that. And of course, there's the scene where he shoots the arrow, and he's gonna get Loki, and he's like, I got him, and he shoots it. Loki catches it, and then he looks at it, he's like, please, and then boom, and it blows up, and Loki just falls. That is amazing. That's a nod to Rambo 2. The explosive tip arrows from Rambo 2 and Rambo 3. That's great stuff, man. I love it. I love this movie. Love it, love it, love it. Oh my God, I'm just getting a nerdgasm again after just thinking of these images. There's a scene where the Chitauri are attacking these people, I think in a bank or something. They rip off Cap's mask, but he still keeps fighting. He's just using a shield, protecting the people. You got a little appearance by, I think, Ashley Johnson. She was the voice of Gwen in Ben 10. I think she's really cute. She's a good actress. I liked her and seeing her in that. And of course, Hulk is just running through the buildings, jumping out the freaking windows, smashing the Chitauri wherever it is. Then you see the scene with him and Thor knocking the Chitauri over the all over the place. It's CG, but it looks great. I just love every scene of it. Of course, how could I forget the scene where Thor and Hulk are in the same frame, and Hulk just goes doosh and knocks Thor the hell out. It was hilarious. I loved it. And of course, there's the scene, the funniest scene in the movie, when Hulk is next to Loki, and Loki's like, I'm a god, you dull creature, and I will not be. And he slams him and 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 slams him into the floor and says, puny god. Everybody was laughing hysterically and cheering. It was freaking awesome. They're like, oh, that's laughable. It's supposed to be funny. And I loved every second of it. Just, oh my god. This is the movie I've been waiting for my whole life, and I'm glad that we got it, man. I'm glad I lived to see it. Of course, after all that chaos, there's a missile headed toward Manhattan. Iron Man has to fly the missile out and shoot it into space so that nobody gets hurt. The blast doesn't kill anybody or hurt anybody. He falls into space. His connection gets cut off from Pepper and from everybody else, and then he falls down. And you think something's going to happen, Thor and Cap are fighting and, knocking the cars over and destroying the Chitauri. He's like, oh, he's not going to make it. And then Thor's getting ready to use his hammer so he can slow him down. He's coming out really fast. Hulk saves him and jumps on the building. It's amazing. That was a great moment for, me as a comic book fan. Just love that scene. He drops Iron Man. He thinks he's dead. They shut off the Tesseract because Black Widow is near the tower, and she puts the scepter inside of the Tesseract to close the portal so that the Chitauri don't keep coming in. And then it's an amazing feat. I mean, I just loved watching this. Anyway, back to Avengers. He wakes up Iron Man by screaming. He's like, roar! And Iron Man's like, what the hell? Please don't tell me somebody kissed me. It's great. And then it's like, what happened? And Cap's like, we won. And you could tell that the Avengers were very exhausted. These actors worked their asses off to make this movie a masterpiece, and it shows from frame 1 to frame 10 or 100 or whatever. Just amazing. And then Iron Man's like, oh, you want to try shawarma? I want to eat it. We'll go to shawarma after we won't come in tomorrow. It's just a great dialogue. This was a very well written movie, and I loved every second of it. But then, the Avengers part ways. They go, in their cars, and the council's like, oh, the Avengers are dangerous. They shouldn't be around civilians. They're causing a lot of damage. And, of course, there's the Stan Lee cameo. And, it was great to see Stan Lee because thanks to him, we got all these characters. And, I would hug the guy if I met him. He's just great. They go their separate ways. Nick Fury talks to the council again and says, if we need them again, we'll know where to find them. It's just, you have that awesome score. Alan Silvestri's score is absolutely amazing. Is it the best score of all time? No, but I did think Alan Silvestri's score was really great for this movie. It just fit it like a hand in glove. And just, it's just, let's face it, the good always outweighs the bad in this situation. And I love this movie. The end credits, I lost it. I was cheering, and I said, greatest movie ever. Of course, the end credit scene with Thanos, with the Chitauri, is like, in order to challenge them, we have to court death. You see Thanos' face, epic, and then the end of the movie. I love this movie. I'm glad I went almost 40 minutes. It deserves it. I think this movie is a masterpiece. It says the best superhero movie of all time. Yes, it is to me. And then the second one is not too far off because I still love the second one to death as well. And I'll talk about that next time. My next review will be Iron Man 3, which I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but hey, this movie is what made Marvel a billion, and it proved to be a experiment that paid off in a big-time way. And I loved every second of this movie. If you want entertainment, this is entertaining. Even the talking scenes don't bother me in this movie. This is what it's all about, man. Summer blockbusters need to take a look at this. Take a look at this and take a look at that. That's how you do a summer blockbuster. You don't want to lie to your audience. You want to give them what they want, and Whedon did it in spades here and in the sequel. And I know the Russos are going to do a great job with Infinity War. just all this buildup is just, I'm so happy to be a Marvel fan. I'm not burnt out on superhero films because I only give credit to the good ones. This was awesome. I didn't mind The Dark Knight Rises. I know a lot of people hated that. I didn't. Amazing Spider-Man 1 sucked. I did like Dredd. I thought Dredd was freaking awesome as well. Great movie. It could have been a little bit longer. Could have had more action. I thought the gore was and the action was good, but it needed a little bit more. This gave me what I wanted and then some, and I can honestly say that this was the best experience I had in the movie theaters in my entire life. And I've seen a lot of good movies in the theater. A lot. And just, wow, this is just amazing. I cannot hold this movie in a higher regard if I try. Just perfect casting, great action that just blows your mind, dialogue that's memorable, characters you care about, a story that doesn't take 3 hours to take. And this movie was actually longer, but they cut a lot of things out. But the theatrical version is fine with me, and I loved every second of it. The costumes are great. The makeup is great. The CGI is fantastic. The budget is on the screen. It doesn't lie to the audience. It didn't say, oh, Hulk's in the movie. When he appears, he freaking smashes, and I loved every second he was on screen. Scarlett Johansson, I love her. I think she's amazing. I've seen her in other things like Lucy and Lost in Translation and a bunch of other stuff, and I just adore her face. She's a great actress. She can act, emote, and fight, and she is total badass. She's a total badass in this movie. Jeremy Renner's good. Chris Hemsworth is great. Robert Downey Jr. steals the show. Chris Evans is a great lead. This movie is what it's all about, man. There's a reason this is on the IMDb 250 list, because it is awesome. And if you guys are a fan of Marvel films, if you want to see an action movie that takes time to build up, but then the action is amazing, see this movie. You will not regret it. It is one of the best of all time. My fourth favorite movie of all time, behind the original Star Wars trilogy. Yep, right there. Love this movie. It is a modern-day classic on the superhero genre. It set a new bar high. I think it's better than all of Nolan's Batman movies because it doesn't become a melodrama. It doesn't have to take too much time to show the heroes, because once the heroes show up on screen, you get a lot of it. You don't get 2 minutes of them. You get a lot of the heroes, and they're front and center. They're the stars of the film, and this movie deserved all the praise, all the box office, and all of the accolades that it so richly deserved. And this movie is one of the best things I've seen. And I love the sequel as well, and I can't wait to gush about that next time. So that's Marvel's The Avengers. Classic movie. Love the movie. It's the best film I saw in 2012, the fourth best movie I've seen. It deserves to be the third highest grossing movie of all time. I think it's better than Avatar, and it's my Avatar. That's what I can say. Titanic, haven't seen it yet, but I guarantee you it's not going to be as good as that. Let's face it. Anyway, love that movie. You could take that to the bank. I'm John Avenger. Once again, I'm glad to be back. I had a long 3 months in college, a lot of grueling math, but hey, it's over for now, and I'm going to be doing frequent videos. My next video will be Iron Man 3, and I'm going to defend the movie. It does have a lot of problems, but I'll get to that next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for commenting. And thanks for being supportive, man. I cannot do this channel without you guys. You're great. So, John Avenger is going to assemble somewhere else. So, later, guys.